Hello, I'm Mary Ash, and I've been interested for some time in the use of bricks rescued from the retorts of gas furnaces as building materials, and I just want to explore the use in the particular area I live in, which is Thorpe Hamlet. I've got this useful information from the National Gas Museum, which tells us how gas was made from coal. In the early 19th century, a gasworks was built down in the hollow beneath us. Which is the Bishop Bridge gasworks, and gas was made from coal there by being heated in something called a retort in a furnace. This retort was a sort of air-proof tube, and it was lined with bricks, heated to a high temperature, and gases were given off, mainly hydrogen and carbon monoxide, and then they were passed through a water trap and were then cooled in a condenser, and during that process tar and some other liquids were removed. The gas then passed through a purifier to remove sulfur compounds and other impurities before being used or stored in a gas holder. So that's the basic process. And I'm sure if you look in any chemistry textbook, you'll find that described in much clearer terms. However, it's the gas retorts that I'm interested in because they were lined with brick, as I said before. And presumably they used to change these brick linings from time to time because there seems to be a huge mass of old bricks used to shore up this hillside. We are on a chalk escarpment up here, and it had been used over the centuries to mine lime and so on, so it sort of falls away. It's been mined and it's been cut into, so it's very steep. And when the gasworks were built, this whole area was developed and houses were built along the top of the ridge here. And so they needed to find some way of shoring up the land, terracing the land. And this is what we're looking at today. I'm sitting here in front of the walls of a house built from these old bricks. Behind me, there were 2 rows of cottages built using these bricks, and I think they're actually pretty unique. And we're going to be looking at more of the use of these bricks as we go through this little programme. Okay, I brought you to Kets Heights, which is a green patch sitting high on the escarpment above Norwich, on the east side of Norwich, and it's just above where the old gasworks used to be. And back in I think at the end of the 19th century, the old brick linings from the retorts from which gas was made were used to build these retaining walls. Clinker, they're pieces of what look like the old pipe. They're curved, presumably showing the curve of the retort pipe. You'll notice that every couple of meters there's one of these iron bolts, presumably screwing the wall into the hillside, trying to keep it stable. There's one there, one here, and there's 3 or 4 along the length of the wall. They are rather rusty. I hope they'll hold for another generation. We're a bit further on now, and we come to another section of this discarded waste material brick. You'll see these are rather different. They're smaller, they're more sort of clinkery and black, but there are sections of what look like almost like a pipe section in here, curved and with a channel running through them. It's the east wall edge of Kets Heights. And as you see, it's quite a tall wall because it's keeping people out as well as in. These bricks are fairly clean. They all seem to be brick rather than clinker, but nonetheless, it's a rather haphazard way of putting them together. They're not coursed, and they're going up a hillside. It's a bit like dry stone walling, it seems to me. You fit in what you can, where you can. This part of the steps is older. We've got stone steps as well as brick steps here. The bricks on the ground seem older than further back, so I think this part goes back a long way. As you see, the gardens at the back of St Leonard's Road were built on a steep hillside and were therefore terraced to make them usable. At one time, I think in the late 19th century, there were flights of steps put in to make a garden in the Italianate manner. We have rather splendid steps with decorative mosaics on the flat landings, which were also made of pieces of clinker and old brick, probably from the same place as the bricks on Kets Heights. This wall is another of the waste material brick walls. It's supporting a height of perhaps 30 feet. The terrace garden above is very much dependent on it. If you come slightly further along here, now we're not sure whether that is actually a tunnel mining into the chalk face, because chalk was mined here, or whether it's built simply to strengthen the wall, arch shapes strengthen. But you can see the old brickwork above it. This is the most spectacular part of the whole hillside. We have 3 very high walls built out of these waste bricks and built beautifully. You can see the wonderful variation in colour and shape. You can see the buttressing, you can see the iron bolts holding it all together, and you can see up at the top of the next wall up the little 3-foot high wall made of clinker. So there's great variation and visual interest in these walls. We have here another of these arches, brick arches. That one has got doors on, it's used for storage, but a bit like the one further up. It just goes back probably about 5 or 6 feet. Here we have St Michael's and St Leonard's terraces. Terraces which have been recognised and celebrated locally for many years. They may be unique to Norwich, although of course it's quite possible that other cities with gasworks used their waste materials to build with. Research is needed here. These 2 rows, one of 3, the other of 2 cottages, are built one below the other into the terracing of the hillside, using these burnt bricks and clinker. This gives them a distinctive and rather a punky sort of texture. There are worries about underpinning being necessary. After all, the hillside is riddled with chalk tunnels from way back in medieval times. But the terracing built out of this very strong brick which has been in the furnaces and fired at a temperature higher than any other bricks, even engineering bricks, we hope will keep the terraced hillside safe for many years to come. So you see the whole length of this escarpment from Kets Hill in the north to Gas Hill relies very heavily on the sturdy walls of burnt brick which shore up the chalky soil. The gasworks brought light and heat to this city and employment for hundreds of local citizens, but it also brought pollution of the air and of the soil. It seems to me that by using these waste materials to ensure a safe hillside or hilltop settlement, the gasworks were building an important and now historic buttressing walls into the community they had exploited.